Because we are less, we must be twice more qualified, twice more educated, and twice more ambitious. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Sunni historical oppression of Shias is undeniable and continues till now across the world. Ali alayhi salam once said, "My Shias will endure the most oppression in the world, and oppressed we have been. Quiet, we are no longer. Quiet, I am no longer." From the Quran, chapter 33, verse number 6, Surah Al-Ahzab, again, verse number 6. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. This verse is a very interesting one. When Sunnis come across it, they create chaos and create a cloud over the true meaning of the verse. And their preachers will shout, "Oh, the Shia have hurt the Prophet's wives. Oh, the Shia do not respect the wives of the Prophet." Or, "Oh, the Shia disrespect al-Mu'mineen." Join me, my dear viewers, and let's investigate together this subject today. Ya Allah, Bismillah. Let's start with this first one here. So 33:6, the one I just quoted for you in English. There's the Arabic, there you can read the English as well. The Prophet has a stronger affinity. The word affinity here is very light. Nabiyu awla. Awla usually means has superiority, priority, ahead. Affinity, I don't know. Poor translation, I guess. Nonetheless, the Prophet has stronger affinity to the believers than they do to themselves, and his wives are their mothers. As ordained by Allah, blood relatives are more entitled to inheritance than other believers and immigrants, unless you want to show kindness to your close associates through bequest. This is decreed in record. Anyways, the point that the Sunnis always usually bring is the beginning of the verse. To his wives are their mothers. So the explanation here is simple. The term mother of believers or al-Mu'mineen means mom, mother, mama, mama of the believers. To the ignorant, it may seem like praise, but if you investigate Sunni and Shia tafsir or translations or explanations about that verse, both Shia and Sunni have explained that it actually means that the wives have a position like mothers to their kids. Meaning, you cannot marry your mother just as you cannot marry any of the wives of the Prophet after he passes. And that's according to um, tafsir in Sunni and Shia uh, beliefs. So therefore, don't ever think of marrying who? Any of the wives. As they are like your mom, that's the meaning of the verse. They are like your mom. It's a clear way to communicate that the wives of the Prophet are a no-go for any of the men. A necessary verse, as according to some Sunni literature, there were men who envied the Prophet that he can marry widows, but that they weren't allowed to marry his wives after his death. Hence, the verse was descended to respond to those envious men. Whether true or not, interesting to recount to give the verse some Sunni perspective. And the verse says, mother, mother of believers. It doesn't say that the wives are believers, but actually says that the mothers, mothers to who? To the believers, mothers to the believers. So in no way, shape, or form is it saying that they, meaning the wives, are believers themselves, because just like any mother in the world, they can be good or they can be bad. Having now explained that first part, let's say that someone being called your mother usually is a good thing, right? And being a mother to someone is usually an honor, a reward, a praise. But does that imply that this title automatically means they are all good wives or good people, worthy to be followed as the Sunnis do? Of course not. All must be assessed based on their merits, piety, and all are different from one to the other, from one wife to the other. They're all different. They all must be assessed differently. But once we do perform an assessment on a person and determined they were open sinners and regularly performed public misconduct, hurt the family of the Prophet, do we still follow them? Of course not, mother or not. But that does not seem to be an objection for the Sunnis, however, as they still take most of the religion from a prophet's wife, Aisha. You don't believe me? Just open Sahih Bukhari and Muslim from where Sunnis derive their religion, their Sunnah. And Aisha narrates most things about the Prophet. Everything comes from her. Why? Why her? I'll tell you why. Because Abu Bakr, the usurper, first caliph, was her father. So, what best way to manipulate the truth than to take everything from both these individuals, as Sunnis do today, to justify the leadership? Good or bad people didn't matter. Despite all of Abu Bakr's transgressions against many prominent companions, or Abu Bakr's blatant order to Umar to attack Fatima's house in the name of what? Forcing allegiance. And despite Aisha, his daughter, historically being an open sinner and regularly misconducted herself in public, as narrated in both Sunni and Shia sources, that's still not enough to stop Sunnis from following these tyrants. What happened to following the Quran and Ahlul Bayt as commanded by the Prophet before passing? Out the window this goes. I guess, for the Sunnis at least, anyways. Then Sunnis will say, no, 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 mother of believers, it's in the Quran. That must be good because it's in the Quran. Fine, fine. Then how do we explain Tafsir al-Qurtubi and Minhaj al-Sunnah al-Nabawiyya from Ibn Taymiyyah, al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, from many other Sunni reputable scholars, all authentic, noting what? What was meant by mother of believers is that she is the mother of believers over the men, not the women. That's what they uh, explain in their literature, that the mother of believers are mothers over the men, not the women, meaning men cannot marry them. And to support this opinion, Sunni scholars um, refer to the story of a woman that went to Aisha and referred to her as Mumineen, and Aisha responded, I'm not your mother, but mother of the men. Your Sunni scholars are making fools of you people, perverting the term Mumineen, mother of believers. Be careful, people. Bottom line is, yes, the wives are mother of believers. No, they cannot be remarried after the Prophet. No, it does not mean the mothers, are believers themselves. And just like your paternal mother or father, they can go to heaven or hell. Some mother of believers were good, others were bad. Now that we established that the wives were referred to as mothers from a non-remarrying standpoint, and that they can be good or bad, um, let's investigate further from the Quran. Number one, as for your mother and father, many Quran verses make it clear if your parents deviate, still show them respect, but not to follow them. Some wives were terrible examples for motherhood. What do you think about a mother that goes out publicly to command an army in person and that sends her children to die in battles against the caliph of her time? And not just one battle, but several. And if you don't know what I mean, please perform research. Now, moving forward here, we're going to go to 3332. 3332. Now, this title of Mother of Believers, as you saw, was in chapter 33, verse 6. But what does 3332 say? So it's a verse that came a little after. What does that verse say? O wives of the Prophet, you are not like any other woman if you are mindful. You're not like any other woman if you are mindful of Allah. Then do not be overly effeminate in speech with men, or those with sickness in their hearts may be tempted, but speak in moderate, moderate tone. So it says that they are not like any other woman, should they believe or be mindful of Allah. So the association to the Prophet in marriage and in status is conditional. Conditional that they what? That they are mindful of Allah, pious. Were all the wives mindful? I ask you. Were they all mindful and pious? No, of course not. Some waged war, some lied, some breastfed adults, and more. Going to the next verse here, 66:4. If you two wives repent to Allah, it is best, for your hearts have deviated. So which God is saying that some of the hearts of the wives have deviated, if you two wives. But if you cooperate against him, then indeed Allah is his protector, and Gabriel and righteous of the believers and the angels, moreover, are his assistants. What is it saying here? What is this verse? Surah Al-Tahrim 66:4, the one we just read. When this verse, God rebukes Aisha and Hafsa, two wives, about their hearts deviating. He tells them that Allah and his angels are the Prophet's protectors. Protectors against who? Protectors from who? Aisha and Hafsa. God is protecting the Prophet from Aisha and Hafsa, wives of the Prophet. Good or bad? You decide. Next verse, 66:5. Perhaps his Lord, if he divorced you all, would substitute for him wives better than you. Wives better than you, submitting to Allah, believing, devoutly obedient, repentant, worshipping, and traveling, once previously married and virgins. Allah, perhaps his Lord, if he divorced you all, would substitute for him wives better than you. So wives that are better than them. Again, about Aisha and Hafsa. Is this the conduct of pious wives? So much so that God threatens to replace them with better wives? Proof that even your mother or Mumineen can be good or bad. Title does not mean good or bad in itself. Let's continue. Quran 66:10. Chapter 66, verse 10. Allah presents an example of those who disbelieved the wife of Noah and the wife of Lut. They were under two of our righteous servants, but betrayed them. So those prophets did not avail them from Allah at all, and it was said, enter the fire with those who enter. So the wives, the wife of Nuh and the wife of Lut, two prophets, their wives will enter the fire with those who enter. Allahu Akbar. So God gives another example that before them, the wives of Noah and Lut were both kafirs and dwellers of hell. Again, mother can be good or mother can be bad. 33:30. O wives of the Prophet, whoever of you should commit a clear immorality, for her the punishment would be doubled twofold. And ever is that for Allah easy. So it's easy for Allah. Talking about the wives of the Prophet. Again, what the punishment would be for an immorality. Allahu Akbar. And this verse, God explains what the punishment is for wives of the Prophet that do sin or misconducts will be punished double twofolds. So it's clear that the mother of believers does not necessarily mean they are good. They can be bad too. Important point here to make. According to Quran historians, Surah Al-Ahzab was revealed first and later Surah Al-Tahrim, chronologically speaking. Now, in the verse we just read, wives are mothers of believers, the first verse we read. They are mothers of believers. But then in Surah Al-Tahrim, that came later in time, God rebukes some of the wives of the Prophet. Again, clear indication that wives can be good, wives can be bad. In that same surah, Surah Al-Tahrim, that's the surah that scolds Aisha and Hafsa. Does that mother of believer title remain forever? Or does that vanish when you start seeing a trend of un-Islamic behaviors? Quran makes it clear that not only their hearts deviated, but they did not stay at home and maintain private lives after the Prophet, but instead did thousands of obscene and open major sins as narrated in Sunni books. Do we still follow such a person as Sunnis do? Of course you shouldn't. Point is, from all this Quranic evidence that I've shown you today, is the title Mother of Believers, is that an honor to the wives or to the Prophet? Of course it's to the Prophet. It's an honor to the Prophet, not the wives themselves. It's to protect the Prophet's dignity and not have his wives remarry after him. Some wives were good, some wives were bad, plain and simple. End of story. End of story. I'll wrap up this final point. Isn't it funny that when you ask a Sunni today who is al-Mu'mineen, by default it's always Aisha. Always Aisha, as if she was the only wife of the Prophet. Biased? Maybe. Maybe because of their love for her father Abu Bakr. Ya Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it's time to rethink. It's time to rethink what they've been teaching you from a young age. Just read a little. Just read a little. It will do you a lot of good. I promise. In summary, I want to recap our position for the meaning of mother of believers in case it wasn't made abundantly clear already. The term mother of believers means no person is allowed to marry any of the wives of the Prophet after him, as narrated by both Sunnis and Shias. The terms the term mother of believers does not mean the wives, are believers. Some wives were good, others were bad. Some wives openly transgressed in tyrannic actions. And the Quran tells us to not follow deviant tyrants. Now, I must ask you this question, dear viewers. Why do you follow tyrants, Ya Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Tyrants that you venerate and crown with empty titles, but pushed aside and fought Ahlul Bayt, though you are commanded to love and respect and follow them. Why did you deviate? There's no compulsion in religion. Allah guides those that are sincere and those that seek knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide you, dear viewer, and expose those that have lied about the religion of Allah, your brother in faith or in humanity, protector of the real sunnah of the Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.